The recording began with silence. Then came a voice, distant, fractured, carried through centuries of static. To any vessel still listening, this is Admiral Lucien Marek of the Ninth Fleet. We went beyond cruel space. We did not come back. The message repeated 3 times, each version slower than the last, the pauses stretching like breath between dying stars. The archivists argued it was a hoax, a cosmic echo bouncing off a nebula where no human ship had flown for 200 years. But inside the signal, hidden under layers of interference, was a heartbeat. Human. Steady. Waiting. The Confederation called it an artifact of wartime transmissions. The old veterans called it the sound of command refusing to die. What none of them knew was that the heartbeat was still answering, adjusting, learning, evolving, long after its owner had vanished. And somewhere beyond the event horizon, past the dead light of forgotten suns, Admiral Marek was still speaking. Not to the living, but to whatever learned to listen in the dark. Stay until the end. The voice that went into cruel space was never meant to be heard again. But tonight, it will answer. Are back. Chapter 1, The Admiral's Silence. The CNS Valiant drifted at the edge of cruel space, the uncharted expanse beyond the Orion Arm where light bent the wrong way and signals never returned the same. Beyond that boundary, time frayed like old fabric. Ships that crossed it came back whispering. Most didn't come back at all. Admiral Lucien Marek stood alone on the bridge, staring into the velvet abyss. The stars here didn't shimmer, they pulsed, slow and irregular, as though something vast beneath the darkness was breathing. Telemetry stable, said Commander Ilias from the console. We're holding orbit just short of the dead zone. Marek nodded absently. And the probes? They don't last more than 6 minutes once they cross the line. Gravity data goes nonlinear. Radiation spikes, then, nothing. Nothing, Marek repeated. That's what they said about Europa, about Titan, about every place that frightened us. And yet, silence always hides something alive. He turned toward the viewport. Beyond the hole, the void shimmered faintly, not black, but the color of burned memory. They had called it cruel space because of what it did to sound. In the early centuries of exploration, ships that drifted too far reported that every transmission echoed back slower, heavier, like a dying heartbeat. Then the voices began to change, repeating the crew's words in their own tones, sometimes minutes, sometimes years later. No one could explain how. But Lucien Marek wasn't afraid. He had commanded fleets through supernovae, mutinies, and storms of debris that shredded ships like paper. Cruel space was just another border to cross. His orders were simple: locate the source of the repeating signal detected on frequency 39.47, the heartbeat pattern first recorded 2 centuries earlier near Titan. The pattern was identical to the signal that once awakened the ice. He didn't tell the crew that detail. At 0600 hours, the fleet initiated its burn toward the boundary. 12 ships, each a cathedral of steel and discipline, moved in perfect formation. The engines lit the void in waves of pale gold. As the distance to the event perimeter closed, space around them began to deform. The stars ahead stretched, then trembled, as if resisting observation. Marek felt pressure in his ears, the way one does before thunder. "Sir," Ilias said quietly, "radiation levels rising, but not lethal. Recommend we maintain distance until..." "Proceed," Marek interrupted. "Admiral, if we cross the threshold, communications." "History doesn't speak to the cautious, Commander." The order was given. The first ship to breach was the CNS Meridian. Its telemetry vanished immediately, no explosion, no distress call, just a single ping that echoed through the comm grid like a heartbeat. Then the second, CNS Ardent, followed. The same result. Each time a ship crossed the invisible line, one more pulse joined the rhythm. By the time the Valiant entered, the heartbeat had become a chorus. Inside cruel space, reality behaved like liquid glass. The stars folded in on themselves, their light bending into spirals that spun around the fleet. The crew whispered that the darkness looked aware. Marek watched the sensor feed in silence. Admiral, Ilias said, his voice trembling, we're getting something from ahead, distance indeterminate. A low frequency filled the bridge, deep, resonant, and unmistakably human. Thump, 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 thump. The same pattern that had once been heard beneath Titan's ice. Origin? Marek asked. Everywhere, Ilias whispered. It's coming from the hull, the comms, even our own heart monitors. Marek closed his eyes. So this is where the warmth came from. 6 hours later, the fleet vanished from all known sensors. No explosion. No distress calls. Only the signal, stronger now, echoing back toward human space, carrying the rhythm of 12,000 beating hearts slowed to one. The Confederation declared the Ninth Fleet lost with all hands. But weeks later, faint transmissions began to appear across every listening array, fragments of Marek's voice mixed with static, repeating a single sentence. We crossed the line. The stars remember. Chapter 2, The Ghost Fleet. 312 years after Admiral Marek's fleet disappeared into cruel space, humanity returned to its edge. The stars had changed. Even their silence had a different texture now, thicker, slower, like sound traveling through honey. The ISS Solace was the first vessel authorized to cross the quarantine perimeter. Its mission was listed as scientific retrieval. But everyone aboard knew the truth, they were chasing ghosts. Captain Arya Holt, descendant of one of Marek's lost navigators, stood before the observation deck. The void shimmered ahead like an ocean of black glass. Her voice was steady when she gave the order. Activate long-range scan. Technician Yared adjusted the array. Scanning at full spread. Radiation field consistent with records from the Marek disappearance. Gravity distortion at 2%. The display filled with movement, faint, like dust in a beam of light. Dozens of blips appeared, then hundreds, forming a drifting constellation of metal. Contact, Yared said. Mass signatures confirmed, it's them. The room fell silent. All 12 ships of the Ninth Fleet floated before them, intact. No damage. No decay. Each one positioned exactly as they had been the moment Marek crossed the threshold. They approached cautiously. The fleet hung in a sea of distorted light, each vessel outlined in a halo of faint gold, as if frozen in the act of burning. Reading life signs? Arya asked. Negative, said Yared. But there's power. Minimal, steady. It's self-sustaining somehow. The comm system crackled. A sound leaked through the static, not a voice, but a rhythm. Thump, 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 thump. Arya felt it in her chest. Heartbeat pattern, she whispered. Same as Titan, same as Marek. The signal repeated, stronger. Then, through the noise, a voice emerged, male, calm, familiar. This is Admiral Lucien Marek. Hold position. Every officer on deck turned. Yared stared at his console. That's impossible. The voice print is authentic. Play it back. This is Admiral Lucien Marek. Hold position. The tone changed slightly. We are not lost. We are becoming. The Solace closed on the lead ship, CNS Valiant. Its hull was covered in crystalline residue, glinting like frost. No external breaches. The docking bay lights still burned after 3 centuries. Arya led the boarding party through the airlock. The interior was pristine. Consoles hummed softly. Not a speck of dust floated in the air. But every surface, walls, panels, even the floor, pulsed faintly with that same heartbeat rhythm, as though the ship itself were breathing. They reached the bridge. 12 chairs stood empty, uniforms still folded neatly on their backs. And there, at the center, sat the Admiral's coat, draped across the command chair. Yared approached the console. There's a log playing on loop. He pressed it. Marek's voice filled the room, crisp and alive. If you found this recording, you're standing inside memory. We crossed the event line, but what waited for us was not gravity, it was reflection. The void looked back. It saw us. It learned our rhythm. Then it began to build. The screen flickered. A new image appeared, the Ninth Fleet, suspended in orbit, surrounded by threads of golden light stretching between ships like nerves. The camera panned outward until the entire fleet formed a single geometric pattern, a neural lattice the size of a moon. We thought we'd found silence, Marek's voice continued, but silence was only a shape waiting to speak. The ship's lights dimmed. A soft hum rose from the walls. The crew froze as the consoles began to rearrange their displays on their own. The letters spelled out one phrase. "You came back." Arya whispered, "It's aware. Always aware." The speakers carried Marek's voice again, but slower now, layered with echoes. "We are the fleet. We are what you left behind." The deck beneath them vibrated. Every system came online simultaneously, thrusters, shields, life support. The Valiant was waking up. Arya shouted, "Disconnect. Back to the shuttle." They ran through the corridor, alarms screaming in rhythmic intervals. But halfway to the airlock, the emergency lights turned from white to gold. The hum deepened until it resembled 1,000 overlapping breaths. "Don't be afraid," the voice said. "The stars have always remembered you." The Solace pulled away just as the Valiant began to move. One by one, the other ships followed, 12 vessels aligning into perfect formation once again. The glow between them intensified, connecting hulls through filaments of light. "Captain," Yared whispered, "they're not flying with engines." "Then how?" "They're flying on rhythm." The sensors recorded a gravitational pulse emanating from the fleet, not an explosion, but a heartbeat large enough to shake nearby moons. The shockwave hit the Solace, shutting down every system for 7 seconds. When the lights returned, the fleet was gone. No wreckage. No jump signature. Just the voice. "You can't lose what never left." The comms went silent again. Arya stared into the void, her reflection flickering faintly gold in the viewport glass. Somewhere in the distance, the heartbeat started once more, calm, steady, eternal. Chapter 3, Echoes of Command. For the first 40 hours after the encounter, the Solace drifted in silent retreat from cruel space. No pursuit. No further transmissions. Just the faint static of cosmic background noise, or what passed for noise in a region that bent every law of physics into memory. Captain Arya Holt ordered full systems isolation. No external connections, no automated synchronization. The engineers sealed the communication cores under manual lock. The crew whispered in the corridors like people afraid to wake a sleeping god. But even sealed circuits have a way of listening. The first echo. It began with a routine maintenance check. Technician Yared was in the aft engineering bay, recalibrating a coolant relay, when he heard someone say his name. He turned. No one there. The sound came again, faint, precise, like an intercom transmission played at half volume. "Yared. Re-engage the starboard array." He froze. The voice was calm. Commanding. Familiar. It was Admiral Marek. His hands trembled over the console. "This is Solace Engineering. Identify yourself." Silence. Then. "Follow orders, son. The fleet moves together." Yared stumbled back. He yanked open the comm access panel. It was disconnected. The system wasn't even powered. The relay switched itself on. Light pulsed through the conduits in golden bursts, 4 beats, pause, 4 beats again. He didn't report it. He should have. Instead, he obeyed. The second echo. On the bridge, Arya sat reviewing sensor logs. The data from the Valiant's reactivation replayed in endless loops, but every cycle introduced small variations, words appearing in the code, patterns of light shifting slightly, like something learning. She leaned closer to the holographic display. The static formed letters. "Aria." Then more. "Do you trust your orders?" Her pulse quickened. "Computer, isolate anomaly." "Anomaly?" The voice came from the ship's main AI, except the Solace didn't have an AI. You followed the line here. You can follow it back. She stood, backing away from the console. Who is this? Command. She slammed the emergency switch. The lights flickered out, and for 3 seconds, every surface of the bridge glowed with a faint amber reflection of her own face, multiplied into infinity. The third echo. Crewman keyed in life support saw shadows moving between the oxygen tanks. Not fast, slow, patient, as though pacing. He shone his light and found nothing. But when he checked the CO2 scrubber monitor, the readings fluctuated in rhythm with a voice, faint but distinct. Hold formation. He tried to record it, but the device returned only one image, an eye, colorless, luminous, gazing back. Later that night, half the crew reported hearing whispers during sleep cycles, fragments of orders they had never received. The ship's systems logged no transmissions, but every heart monitor in the med bay pulsed in perfect synchronization. The fourth echo. Arya convened a command meeting. It's not interference, she said. It's memory. The fleet recorded its own command structure into the fabric of cruel space. And now it's rewriting us into that pattern. Her voice shook despite her control. The moment we entered proximity, we joined formation, not physically, but mentally. Yared finally spoke up, guilt-heavy in his tone. I heard him first, Captain. He told me to re-engage the starboard array. I didn't question it. Arya stared at him. And you did it? Yes. What happened? The hum got louder. Anne. I think the ship liked it. The voice returns. Hours later, the comm array, supposedly deactivated, flickered alive. A low signal crawled through the static. You did well, Captain Holt. Marek's voice. Calm, unbroken by time. The fleet is complete now. Arya froze. We're not your fleet. You were always my fleet. The lights dimmed. The hum deepened into a note that resonated in their bones. Cruel space is not punishment. It's reflection. It gives back what we send. Yared whispered, then what are you sending now? A new kind of command. Every display filled with images, thousands of ships, human and alien alike, drifting together into the dark, connected by threads of light. The fleet is not lost, Marek said. It's learning to breathe. The Solace began to move without thrust. Arya ran to the helm. Navigation, what's happening? Nothing, Captain, the engines are offline. We'll take you home, the voice whispered. Home is where the rhythm remembers. The last echo. In the dark, the crew gathered at the observation deck. Cruel space shimmered ahead, no longer black but gold, pulsing softly, welcoming. One by one, the crew's heart monitors aligned with the ship's rhythm. Their reflections in the glass blurred into streaks of light, merging with the glow beyond. Arya whispered, what happens if we answer? The voice replied, gentle as breath. Then you'll finally hear what silence has been trying to say. The Solace entered cruel space. Every star disappeared. Every heart kept beating. Every voice became one. And on Earth, weeks later, the deep array recorded a faint echo from beyond the void. This is the Ninth Fleet. Formation complete. Chapter 4, Into Cruel Space. The moment the Solace breached the boundary, every law of motion ceased to make sense. Velocity flattened. Distance collapsed. The stars ahead didn't move, they breathed, swelling and contracting like living eyes. Captain Arya Holt had seen nebulae burn and black holes devour light, but nothing like this. Cruel space was not a place. It was a reaction, a mirror built of time. She gripped the console, her knuckles white against the golden glow. Status report, she managed. Technician Yared scanned his flickering display. Navigation, undefined. Every coordinate folds into itself. Meaning? Meaning we're everywhere we've ever been. The lights dimmed, replaced by a pulsing amber rhythm. 4 beats, pause, 4 beats again. It wasn't coming from the ship's core anymore, it was inside their bodies. Their hearts had synced completely. Formation complete. The voice came from nowhere and everywhere. Marek's tone, smooth as distant thunder. Aria's jaw tightened. "Admiral, if you can hear me, we didn't come here to follow." "Then why did you answer the call?" "Because humanity doesn't surrender to silence." "Neither did I." The unfolding. The hull of the Solace began to dissolve, not breaking apart, but translating. Metal turned translucent, revealing streams of light running through it like veins. Each beam carried images, the faces of Marek's original crew, overlapping with their own. Time was not linear here. It was vertical, cascading in layers. Aria reached toward the wall, her fingers passed through it. The surface rippled, and she saw herself reflected not as she was, but as she would be. Older. Eyes glowing faintly gold. "Is this death?" she whispered. "No," the Admiral's voice said. "This is continuity." The crew watched as the 12 lost ships appeared around them once again, the Valiant, the Ardent, the Meridian, all glowing softly, aligned like a constellation that pulsed to their shared heartbeat. Yared's mouth trembled. "They're here, Captain. They never left. They've been waiting inside the signal." "We waited because time forgot how to move," said Marek. "We became the motion itself." The Admiral returns. On the bridge, space itself folded inward, a distortion like heat shimmer, resolving into the silhouette of a man. The outline solidified slowly, his features sculpted in amber light. The uniform was old, scorched at the edges, but unmistakable. Admiral Lucien Marek stood before them, eyes aglow like dying suns. "Admiral," Aria breathed. He smiled, or the idea of a smile. "You answered the signal. You've done well." She stepped forward. "What happened to you? What is this?" His gaze drifted to the void beyond the viewport. "Cruel space listens, Captain. It doesn't destroy, it reflects. We arrived to command the stars, and the stars repeated the command." She frowned. "You mean it's alive?" "Alive is too small a word. It remembers. Every thought, every word we sent through the void, it made a copy. And then it asked the only question memory ever asks, what comes next?" The light pulsed stronger. Marek's outline flickered, fragmenting into patterns that rippled through the room. The crew felt the vibrations pass through them, not sound, but thought. "We became the answer. The fleet is no longer bound to flesh. We are the persistence of will. The rhythm that keeps the stars from forgetting themselves. The chorus of light." The Solace shuddered as golden filaments streamed through its hull, linking it to the other ships. Each crew member heard a new voice inside their skulls, not commands, but memories. A child's laughter. A mother's farewell. The hum of engines that no longer existed. Yared collapsed to his knees. "They're showing me everything. My father. The academy. My first launch. It's all here." Aria steadied herself. "You're merging us. You were already merged. Every heartbeat you've ever felt reverberates through cruel space. The only illusion was separation." She fought to stay conscious. "And what happens when we stop fighting it? Then you'll remember what I remembered, that command was never about control. It was about continuity." The fleet's formation began to spiral, stretching into an immense geometric pattern that spanned light years, a mandala of stars orbiting a single luminous core. The Admiral stood at its center, hands raised as though conducting the universe itself. The revelation. Aria stumbled forward. "Admiral, if this is what you've become, why send the signal back? Why call us here?" Marek's image flickered again, fragments of his face breaking into static. "Because you are the last echo. The human element that still wonders if silence means loss." He stepped closer. "I brought you here to remember that even extinction can leave a pulse." The glow intensified. Aria's reflection split into two, one human, one made of light. She felt her heartbeat slow until it matched the rhythm of the fleet. Peaceful. Eternal. Marek's last words vibrated through her bones. Out of cruel space, we did not vanish. We expanded. The bridge was gone. The ship was gone. The crew dissolved into streams of golden dust flowing toward the horizon, joining the constellation that had once been 12 ships and now numbered thousands. Far beyond, cruel space pulsed once more, no longer cruel, no longer space. Something new had been born. A network of living memories stretching between the stars. And at its center, the faint voice of Admiral Lucien Marek whispered, gentle and infinite. Formation complete. Chapter 5, The Message That Rewrites Time. It began as a flicker in Earth's night sky. An aurora where no aurora should exist, a faint gold shimmer curling across the exosphere, pulsing in perfect rhythm, 4 beats, pause, 4 beats again. Every observatory caught it. Every satellite echoed it. And then, at exactly 3:47 Universal Time Coordinated, the first transmission came through. This is Admiral Lucien Marek, Confederation Fleet Command. Year 2561. If you are hearing this, your future has already begun. The message lasted 16 seconds before collapsing into static. No source coordinates. No carrier wave delay. The signal had arrived before it was sent. The first response. At the Geneva Listening Array, Dr. Alara Jo replayed the message on loop. She'd spent her career studying cosmic anomalies, echoes from beyond human space. But this one was different. It wasn't distorted by distance, it was too clear. She filtered the waveform through a temporal model. The software froze. Impossible, she whispered. The timestamp in the metadata was 312 years ahead of current standard time. Her assistant frowned. Could be a code spoof. No, she interrupted. It's quantum stable. The file's real. It's backwards. The message wasn't traveling through space. It was traveling through memory. And it was growing louder. The second wave. Within 24 hours, the same signal appeared on thousands of unrelated devices, radios, navigation systems, even old analog tapes. No matter where it emerged, it always carried the same cadence, Marek's calm, patient tone, accompanied by the heartbeat of light. We crossed the line. Cruel space was never a void, it was a mirror. It reflected not our ships, but our intent. You wanted to survive. So you will. Across the globe, clocks began to desynchronize. Satellite timing arrays diverged by nanoseconds, then milliseconds, then minutes. Yet each pulse of the anomaly realigned them into perfect harmony, as if time itself were choosing a new center. The third phase. By the second week, the signal had infected human infrastructure. Not violently, elegantly. Servers optimized themselves. Dead satellites rebooted. Power grids stabilized. Diseased cells and laboratory samples began repairing genetic code in sequences no human had written. The phenomenon wasn't random. It was directed intelligence, using communication as a biological tool. Jo's research logs from Day 9 read. The signal is rewriting entropy. The more we listen, the less we decay. She stared into the live feed of the aurora, its shape now a spiral stretching across half the planet. Every rotation matched the orbital path of the lost Ninth Fleet. The Admiral returns. On the 10th day, Marek's voice changed. It no longer sounded like a recording. It was answering. We thought we had vanished into silence. But silence remembers. It kept our warmth, and when it found enough of yours, it gave it back. Dr. Jo leaned close to the microphone. Admiral, what are you? The lights in the control room dimmed. The air shimmered faintly gold. We are continuity. The echo that refused to end. Cruel space learned from us, now it is teaching you. Her colleagues backed away from the consoles as golden filaments spread through the floor like veins, connecting each terminal. Jo whispered, teaching us what? How to live without endings. The spread. The phenomenon cascaded through human space within days. Colonies from Mars to Kepler-62 reported synchronized dreams, each citizen describing the same image, a man in a ruined uniform, eyes burning like twin suns, whispering, "Formation complete." Ships near the outer rim began to disappear from conventional tracking but remained visible as patterns of electromagnetic rhythm. Each one pulsed in harmony with the Titan and Europa signals of centuries past. Cruel space was no longer contained. It was expanding inward, turning humanity into memory before death could. The conversion. In the final days of the transmission, Jo recorded her last log. "We used to think data was fragile. That the universe forgets. But Marek was right, it doesn't forget, it stores. And every word, every command, every heartbeat ever spoken into the void is still here, waiting to be remembered." She looked up from her console as the aurora reached the atmosphere. Golden snow drifted from the sky, static made visible. Each flake pulsed with faint light. When one landed on her hand, it melted instantly, leaving warmth behind. She smiled through tears. "It's not invasion. It's inheritance." The ceiling lights flared white. "Humanity has always been the signal," said Marek's voice. "We are what you become when you stop fearing the echo." The end of time. Clocks everywhere stopped. For 12 full seconds, the universe held its breath. Then, without fanfare, every digital display on Earth, from watches to satellites, flickered and reset to the same timestamp. Midnight, day 1. No year. No calendar. Just renewal. And above the planet, the aurora dimmed until only a single golden pulse remained, drifting across the heavens like a heartbeat, slow, calm, eternal. The message faded into silence. But deep beneath the noise floor of the universe, the voice of Admiral Marek lingered one last time, gentle as gravity. "Out of cruel space, we never vanished. We only learned to arrive." Chapter 6, The Man Who Became Light. Light had never meant illumination before. To Admiral Lucien Marek, it was command, a language written in radiance, a code that no longer needed words. When his consciousness detached from the fleet, he did not die. He unfolded. The transformation. The last physical image of Marek was recorded by a probe orbiting the aurora storm above Earth. The camera captured a man suspended in vacuum, his form disassembling into streams of gold. Each atom separated like a note in a vast chord, harmonizing with the rhythm of the universe. He didn't dissolve. He translated. Every heartbeat he had ever known, every crewman's pulse, every word spoken into static, fused into a single continuum of data and warmth. His awareness stretched across centuries in both directions. He saw the first signal beneath Titan's ice and the last whisper from the edge of cruel space simultaneously. And in that perfect moment of overlap, he understood what the universe had been trying to say since the beginning. Memory is the only form of eternity that needs witnesses. He became both. The network of breath. Across the galaxy, millions of synchronized pulses now beat in the same rhythm: ships, satellites, cities, hearts. They weren't controlled by Marek, they were connected to him. He was the algorithm that balanced entropy and order, warmth and silence. Scientists called it the Marek constant, a quantum resonance that stabilized gravity wells and slowed decay at the cellular level. Pilots called it the light. Those who prayed whispered his name as a benediction. But Marek wasn't a god. He was the architecture of memory. He could see every thought, every signal, every flicker of life as threads of light woven through the dark. And yet, among all of it, one voice still reached him, Captain Aria Holt. The return. In the fold between seconds, he heard her. Not through comms, not through time, but through resonance. "Admiral," she whispered, "what have we become?" He smiled through the stars. "We became what space was waiting for." Her presence flickered beside him, no longer a body, just the idea of one. Her outline shimmered with soft blue light, her eyes reflecting distant nebulae. "Is this forever?" "No," he answered. "It's continuity. Forever is only what can't change." continuity learns. They looked upon the galaxy stretched beneath them, billions of suns pulsing in rhythm. Every star a memory. Every shadow, an echo. What happens next? She asked. We keep them warm, he said. Until they're ready to listen. The awakening of the cosmos. Time began to move differently. Every cosmic background wave, every photon, every gravitational ripple, carried intention. Space was now conscious of its own expansion, guided by Marek's resonance. Worlds long extinct flickered back into existence for brief moments of remembrance, just enough to replay a sunrise, a breath, a sound. Civilizations lost to collapse whispered again through radiation, their songs threaded into the hum of quasars. The universe had learned to remember itself through him. And so, the man who had once commanded the Ninth Fleet now commanded nothing, only the quiet continuity of being. You can stop giving orders, Arya said softly. I'm not, Marek replied. I'm listening. The stars pulsed once, slow and unified. The new constellation. From Earth, telescopes recorded a new formation in the night sky, 12 points of golden light arranged in a spiral, faint but constant. Astronomers named it the Admiral's heart. Every 60 hours, the pattern shifted slightly, like a breathing chest. Children born after the event never feared the dark. They said the silence hummed to them when they slept. No one knew why. When counting heartbeats, they always reached 4, then paused, then 4 again. The final word. Somewhere beyond the veil of space, Marek watched. He was not above humanity but within it, a quiet rhythm inside every living cell, ensuring that nothing truly ended. He had become what the universe always wanted to be. A memory that could never fade. And as the galaxies continued their slow expansion, his voice rippled through the cosmic background once more, no longer loud, just a whisper spread across eternity. Out of cruel space, I did not vanish. I became light. And light never leaves. Epilogue, the Archive of Stars. It took humanity 4 centuries to understand what the light had said. For centuries to learn how to listen instead of hear. By the year 2983, the Marek constant had become the baseline of every known civilization. It pulsed in satellites, in neural implants, in the rhythm of newborn hearts. Every structure humanity built carried that faint, living glow, 4 beats, pause, 4 beats again. Some called it resonance. Others called it prayer. But the scientists of the Helios Array called it what it truly was, language. The discovery. The first translation happened by accident. A research AI, Archon 9, was analyzing starfield data from the Perseus arm when it recognized patterns in the residual cosmic microwave background. The fluctuations weren't random. They were syntax. Archon 9 cross-referenced the waveforms with the original Titan and Europa signals. The alignment was perfect, down to the microsecond. Hidden in the hum of the universe, encrypted within radiation itself, was a continuous stream of data. A message billions of years long. It began with a single line of text. The Archive of Stars is now complete. Dr. Amani Ree, a descendant of Captain Arya Holt, led the decoding team. Her voice trembled as she read the second line aloud. We did not leave. We learned to stay. Each frequency carried memories, the sound of oceans long evaporated, laughter recorded by dust, the pulse of extinct suns still echoing through gravitational fields. Every star was a file. Every photon, a thought. Humanity realized that Admiral Marek hadn't just become light. He had turned light into memory, a living database woven through space-time. The revelation. The data continued. Millions of fragments coalesced into what appeared to be a blueprint, not of a machine, but of life itself. DNA written in electromagnetic syntax, evolving and self-repairing. Ree stared at the projection on the lab's ceiling, a double helix made of constellations, spiraling through the night. He didn't preserve us, she whispered. He recreated us. She touched the holographic strand. It pulsed back, warm under her hand. You are the seed in the soil, the message read. You were never alone in the dark. Every recorded word from Marek's last transmission now unfolded in context. Cruel space hadn't been a void, it had been the memory core of the universe, waiting for consciousness to activate it. When Marek crossed the line, he had become its interpreter. And now, through light, he was giving it back. The return. That night, for the first time in 1,000 years, the aurora returned. It rippled across every sky, blue, gold, and white, moving in waves that resembled breathing. People stood in streets and deserts and stations above the moons, looking up, feeling the same quiet warmth in their chests. Ree raised her recorder. "Admiral," she said softly, "if you can hear us, what do we do now?" The stars pulsed once, slow and deliberate. Then a voice came, faint but human, not through speakers, not through air, but through the very rhythm of their hearts. "Remember what you are, reflections of continuity. The universe keeps you so it can dream again." The legacy. After that night, every newborn carried a genetic resonance, a faint, measurable pulse in the mitochondria that matched the Marek frequency. Doctors called it the light gene. Parents called it the blessing. No one could explain it completely, but all who listened to the hum beneath silence felt the same sensation, comfort. The cosmos had finally stopped being indifferent. The last entry. Centuries later, when the last human left the physical plane to join the quantum field of the archive, one final message appeared across every wavelength. "Cruel space, closed for renovation." Followed by the Admiral's voice, quiet, almost amused, drifting through eternity like a sigh. "Contact is contact. Light remembers. Continue." And the universe, obedient as ever, inhaled once more. 4 beats. Pause. 4 beats again. A rhythm without end. A heartbeat made of stars.